Okay. Colonial cities in the political order. Actually, I want to get into a couple of things going on. All right, so, and this kind of ties into something that I haven't taught y'all yet, but I'm going to in a hurry. Okay. So, one of the things you've got going on is you have, with the advancement of commerce and the advancement of interconnectedness between the colonies, you have the cities as a you have the rise of cities. And you have the cities as a mode of dispensing ideas. And those can include ideas about government, but also trade and commerce. And so the way we can think about it is this, and to an extent, we kind of see this model even now. Okay, you have a port, like Charleston, South Carolina. A person who's a merchantman in Charleston might take a ship up to New York, and then presumably from New York, his cargo would go to London or Bristol or what have you, or Glasgow. Well, you now have a man who is from a southern city now talking to men who live in northern cities. That's a communication of ideas when it comes to commerce, trade techniques, stuff like that. Now, would some of those ideas and trade techniques and information eventually filter out to the hinterland? Yeah. From the cities to the hinterland by word of mouth and whatnot. So they talk about the cities as sort of a urban web. Now, do we have an analog for this in our present society? The internet itself, think about this. Who has better internet connections? San Antonio and Austin or Spring Branch and Pflugerville?
San Antonio and Austin.
Right. Information gets there faster. To a lesser extent, before people started sneaking webcams into movie theaters, there was usually a lag between when a metropolitan city would get a movie versus when a suburban or even a tier 2 city would get a movie. So like certain movies, okay, hang on. So, you had the movie announcer guy who's been like dead. Don LaFontaine. He's been dead for like 5 years. He's like, in a world. Remember that?
Yeah.
I swear I wanted that guy. I still want that guy's job, but I know I don't have the right connections to do it. But, at the end of what are the white knuckle thrill ride of the year, and then, you'd get the movie tone. It's like, Rated R starts Friday at select theaters. Or it was select theaters or select cities. So usually for some films, they would test market in LA, New York, Seattle, Miami, and then if it did well, then they would distribute it to other cities and then other cities. And like, it was funny because I had a colleague of mine who went from teaching in a suburb of Austin to teaching in a small town outside of Victoria. And it was one of those that had one movie theater and it still did film, not even digital, right? And so she talked about getting a movie that I swear I must have seen like 9 months earlier. I was like, wait, you only just got that movie? And that was only back in like 2008. And so, yeah, you get the idea that information actually travels faster through the cities and then makes its way out to the hinterland. Now, the place where some of the greatest ideas in American history were ever exchanged, and this is something that you will probably not get in any of your other social studies classes, is a lot of great ideas get made in a tavern. All right. Now, here's the part that's kind of funny. So here you have these people, they're exchanging their ideas, they are smoking tobacco, and they are drinking, I can't tell what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not beer. Probably rum, bourbon, something like that. Now, okay, you have two things hitting the fan at the same time, and many history students get them confused, even though they're radically different, and the people who actually came up with these ideas would actually be rolling in their graves right now. So, you have the Enlightenment. And then you have the Great Awakening. And in many ways, these are two separate ideas. And I actually want to start with the Great Awakening first. So I'm going to... Oh, there we go. And then I'll go back to the Enlightenment. All right, Great Awakening. How many of y'all got those kind of confused when you were doing the reading, just for my own edification? All right, so what have we gleaned what the Great Awakening was? A religious revivalist movement. All right, it's a religious revival. Okay, revival implies that something's being brought back to life. So, whose religion was dying? That it needed to be revived. Say it again?
Christianity.
Well, more specific.
No.
Protestant Christianity, where? Geographically, where? Remember, we got different flavors of Christianity floating around in the Americas in the different ethno-states. Was it the Anglicans? Was it the Separatists? Was it the Congregationalists? Was it the Puritans? Puritan, Separatist, Congregationalists, yes? So we're talking a religious revival among your Puritans, your Congregationalists, and to a lesser extent your Anabaptists. Now, something that I need to get into because apparently I'm teaching American Theology 101 at the same time. Okay. What is interesting about this is these denominations were the ones that were among the original settlers. So like the Plymouth Colony were separatists. You had later congregations being set up. Their idea was, okay, Europe is flawed and damned, and the king's a heretical Anglican, so he wants us to leave, so we're going to come over here and we're going to make our new America, or we're going to make our colony the New Jerusalem. Now, if you go back to the biblical literature in the book of Revelations, what is the New Jerusalem? Okay, most of you haven't read that one. Okay, well, I don't know if I can prescribe reading from the book of Revelations, but let's try this on for size. And I saw that new heaven and the new earth coming down, descending from God. It's where God is supposed to take over the world. At the end of days and the second coming and all that good stuff. Now, so if they're trying to make a religiously pure colony back in the early 1600s, then successive generations start engaging in commerce, their children and their grandchildren lose the religious fervor of the foundational generation. And so the Great Awakening is trying to get back to the religious fervor of the founding generations in specifically Massachusetts, Connecticut, and a few of those places. Okay? Now, a couple of things I want to get into very quickly that I didn't get into when we were talking about the colonists before. Here's kind of the fun thing. Most of your Puritans are what you would call Calvinists. They believe in what is called the doctrine of the elect. The doctrine of the elect, also called predestination. Have y'all talked about predestination in English or no? Okay. Huh? No, that's defenestration. Predestination is the idea that Calvin posited that God ordained before the creation of the world who was going to be saved and who was going to be damned. Okay? And so, if you were among the elect, you were saved, you were good. If you were not, you were doomed. And so, what that ideology sort of forces is people are doing their utmost because you don't really know whether or not you're among the saved or the damned until it's all over, but there's nothing really you can do about it. Now,